Thanks for joining us on the weekend edition of National Focus. I'm Nisha Charles. Coming up, the Dominica Citizenship by Investment program is highly rated internationally. The CARICOM Secretary-General mourns the death of Dr. Nicholas Liverpool, and Fire Chief warns of the dangers of bushfires. Details of our headline stories and more after this.
You're watching GIS.
Thanks for staying with us. Prime Minister Skerrit says Dominica's Citizenship by Investment program is highly rated by the international community. Speaking to the press on Wednesday, Honorable Skerrit indicated that his government is moving ahead with Dominica's Citizenship by Investment program and will not be subjected to uninformed criticism of the program.
Our program is highly rated, highly respected by the international community, by the security agencies of those states, the United Kingdom, the European Union, the Canadians, the United States government. These governments highly regard the kind of scrutiny that we exercise in respect to our Citizens by Investment program. I can tell you what they have said to us and what they have said to other governments in the region, that if you want to have your program, you should seek some kind of guidance and advice and to see what Dominica is doing. And you will see independent people rating our programs and indicating the due diligence process.
Prime Minister Skerrit assures that the program will remain secure.
This government is not prepared to gamble with its integrity and its image for any applicant on a Citizenship by Investment program. As much as we appreciate the funds that we get from it, we are not prepared to compromise the integrity of the state for these funds at all. So this is why we are very, very careful in respect to the security mechanisms that we have in place and the due diligence process that we follow in respect to every applicant. And I can tell you that we have never and we will never compromise the integrity of our due diligence process and so on.
Meantime, the government of Dominica is prepared to give final approval to several investment projects currently in the pipeline for Dominica. A few of these projects fall under the Citizenship by Investment program, while others will be undertaken by private citizens in the diaspora. One of these is a proposal for a hotel at Coconut Beach in Portsmouth. The Prime Minister gave an update on this particular project and others.
We've given the approval in principle, as I indicated. There are certain documents which the developers will have to present to the government. They are, as far as I understand it, preparing those documents to forward to the government. Once the government receives those proposals from the developers, we'll be in a position to give final approval for that project. Not only this project, but the project in Salisbury that will be done by a citizen of Dominica in the diaspora. We have given approval to it, conditional approval to it. He has to submit additional documents, which I spoke to him 2 weeks ago. He indicated that he's preparing those documents and so forth. And of course, I've indicated a project in the Heights of Soufriere. The developer is working on presenting certain documents that have been requested of him by the committee responsible for this project. As you know, range is moving full steam and so forth. So once we receive those submissions by the developers, we'll be in a position to give final approval for these projects.
Prime Minister Skerrit indicated that the approval of these projects will positively impact the economy.
If we were to get these projects on stream in Dominica, the jobs that it will create, construction jobs that it will create, I don't even think that we'll have sufficient people in Dominica to work. And this is why my mission is to, and the government's mission is to recruit our Dominicans who live in Antigua and St. Martin to come back to Dominica to build those structures and also to work in them.
The Prime Minister was speaking to the press after a walkthrough of recently constructed apartment complexes at Bath Estate and Emsall on Wednesday. Fire chiefs across the Caribbean have received pertinent information about, among other things, handling hazardous material. These form part of a recent Caribbean Association of Fire Chief CAFC meeting in the Dominican Republic held from May 21st to 29th. Other areas of focus at the meeting was the Incident Command System.
Hazardous material is not just an emerging area of interest to the fire service, but it is certainly an area of tremendous interest, simply because we are dealing with a lot of materials, whether it's in whether we are transporting it, storing it, or selling. We certainly are dealing with a lot more hazardous materials as a people than we did historically. It would be interesting to note too that there are quite a bit of hazardous materials that actually traverse the Caribbean seas, and so both inland and also on the sea, actually hazardous materials come into our ports or in the region, in Dominica too, and therefore responding agencies like the fire service and the police organizations and others need to be properly trained to deal with hazardous material incidents. And therefore, because of that kind of interest, we spend some time looking at hazardous material.
Other areas of interest at the meeting was urban search and rescue.
Buildings collapse during heavy rains from mudslides or as a result of earthquakes and tremors. And therefore, the fire department and other organizations also who have to respond to these incidents needs to have the training to make a determination as to what are the safety practices that must be employed if we have to do search and rescue in urban areas.
The Ministry of Agriculture, in its quest to ensure that agriculture remains an important sector of the economy, has imported new varieties of Irish potatoes as a means of encouraging farmers to diversify. At a tasting exhibition of the new potato cultivars on Wednesday, Talita Loda, a representative of the Division of Agriculture, revealed that 2 new crops have recently been introduced in Dominica.
This year, we also did research work on 3 new cultivars, that is Cheftain, Challenger, and Spunter. And what we've done, as I said, we've tried our best to introduce these potatoes to our consumers to know whether they actually appreciate these new cultivars.
She notes that these new varieties have been introduced to other parts of the island.
On island, the optimal growing conditions for potato production is actually at the south region, agricultural region, which is Belvis-Chopez-Girodel. What we've done is we've introduced potatoes to new production areas, including the northeast, which is Woodford Hill, Kerdisha, and so forth.
Asked about the optimum areas for potato cultivation on island, Loda had this to say.
We have different agroecological zones. And we would state that, yes, the climatic conditions are different. However, those on the northeast did excellent. The yield, the agronomic yield, they did rather excellent in the production of potatoes on the northeast.
You're watching National Focus. Still to come, the Secretary-General of CARICOM mourns the death of former President Dr. Nicholas Liverpool.
Did you know the Caribbean Court of Justice is 2 courts in 1? The CCJ has 2 functions: an original jurisdiction, which deals with your right to move between CARICOM countries freely, and your right to move your money and your business. This is the basis of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME, and the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, and an appellate jurisdiction to hear appeals from courts of those countries which decide to use it as their final court of appeal and no longer go to the Privy Council. All CARICOM member states who have signed the agreement establishing the CCJ are members of the CCJ.
Welcome back. Secretary-General of CARICOM, Ambassador Erwin LaRocque, mourns the death of an outstanding Dominican son. In a condolence message to Prime Minister the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, the Secretary-General described the late former President Dr. Nicholas Liverpool as a man for all seasons and a national and regional treasure. He hailed his contribution to his country, Dominica, and CARICOM. He said that Liverpool's indelible contribution to the field of law is inscribed not only in his publications but also in the hundreds of students who passed under his tutelage at the University of the West Indies as both lecturer and dean. The University of Ghana also benefited from his expertise as a lecturer. Secretary-General LaRocque said Dominica and the Caribbean community have lost a national and regional treasure who through his deeds and service left the world a better place than he found it. Dr. Nicholas Liverpool died on Monday. In other news, Chief Fire Officer Josiah Dupie is asking the general public to be diligent in containing bushfires. For the month of May, 97 bushfires were recorded. The fire chief says residents must remain cautious since bushfires can quickly get out of hand.
I remember one of the days, in fact, where we responded to 17 bushfires. So that gives you an idea of the challenge that we have had. Many of the days, all of our assets were out, and there were instances where we had to request for help from St. Joseph, from Grand Bay, to try to make ends meet, so to speak. So it has been a very, very onerous task for us during this past month of May, and the tally continues. I mean, we continue to respond to those bushfires even in the month of June. We, of course, want to use this opportunity to remind the general public about the dangers associated with bushfires. Bushfires can easily get out of control. Bushfires, once they have enough combustible material and with the wind direction helping, can cause a tremendous amount of damage, and therefore we continue to solicit or ask the general public to ensure that around their homes or even their little holdings where they have the agricultural products, that they maintain a buffer zone, probably a minimum of 15 feet.
The fire chief gave some guidelines for burning at this time of year.
This is not the best time of year to do burning. But if you really must burn, ensure that you break up your waste into small piles and burn in small groups. And also, when you are burning, ensure that you have water, you have a garden hose, you have a mechanism that you could actually put into play should the fire get out of control. You know, there is, of course, wind direction to take into consideration when you are burning. And we also want to ask the people who are deliberately setting fires, especially along the road, you know, if we drive along the west coast and even on the northeast, and I'm told driving towards Girardel and so many other places on the island, there are several members of our communities who are happy to just set fires. And we are saying that this is a dangerous practice. You can cause a lot of damage to property. In fact, there are already a significant amount of damage to the pools of some of our utility companies. And I am sure in instances there are other people like the beekeepers, especially on the West Coast, who have suffered tremendously this year.
And before we leave you, here are a few announcements. The Cultural Division is inviting nominations for the 2015 Golden Drum Awards. Persons, groups, and institutions being nominated should have at least 20 years' experience in the field of culture, and the work of the person or group should have a positive impact in Dominica. Nominations are also invited for Special Recognition Awards. Special Recognition Awards are issued to such persons, groups, and institutions who have made a contribution in culture for less than 20 years, and to those who have achieved notable success in a particular field of arts and culture. Nomination forms are available at the Old Mill Cultural Center, the Arawak House of Culture, and the Ministry of Culture at the government headquarters. All nominations should reach the Division of Culture at Old Mill, Canefield by Monday, June 30th, 2015. The High Commission of the Republic of South Africa in Kingston, Jamaica, is pleased to inform on the new requirements as per Immigration Amendment Act 2011 for visitors of foreign states traveling to South Africa. As part of the requirements, foreigners traveling to South Africa should have 2 unused pages in their passport. As of November 24, 2015, South Africa will no longer accept non-machine readable passports. If these documents are still in circulation, the expiration date for the passports is required from the appropriate government office of the country of origin. Effective June 30th, 2015, all minors traveling unaccompanied or with a parent or guardian to the Republic of South Africa will be required to present the following documents at immigration: an unabridged, complete and authorized birth certificate, an affidavit or letter from a state authority giving permission to the guardian to accompany the child with full contact details or parent or legal guardian, certified copies of the parent's identification. The mission is requesting specimens of unabridged birth certificate or a legally accepted document for record of birth used. We now join Kerdisha St. Louis for this week's edition of Flashback.
Welcome to this week's edition of Flashback. In the headlines this week, the Canadian Hunger Fund CHF Caribbean is stressing the importance of fresh produce standards as a critical aspect of regional trade. On Saturday, 19 outstanding young nationals were awarded for their achievements and contribution to youth development in various fields over the past year at the 10th Annual National Youth Awards. The Environmental Health Department is focusing on issues of food safety with special emphasis on fish sanitation, vector control, and occupational health and safety throughout the month of June. From June 1st to 31st, the department celebrates Environmental Health Month, and this year will be held under the theme Protecting Our Environment for Future Generations. On Monday, Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit announced on a DBS radio the death of the former President Nicholas J. O. Liverpool. A closing ceremony at Alias Frances was held on Monday, which marked the end of a month-long tourism awareness campaign for the month of May. Every May, the Discover Dominica Authority launches Tourism Awareness Month with an objective to sensitize the general public on the importance of the tourism industry and its benefits to the various facets of Dominica's economy. At Monday's ceremony, successful participants in the various activities organized were awarded. Also on Monday, the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture held its annual National Accountability Seminar. The Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit is looking to address areas of concern for the staff of the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation. The Honorable Prime Minister, along with the Health Minister and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, met with the management and staff of the corporation on Monday to hear from the staff some of their concerns and ways of improving the efficiency of the corporation. The Honorable Prime Minister Skerrit says his government is committed to reducing the indigence level in Dominica. Speaking with the press on Wednesday, Honorable Skerrit indicated that his government has put a structure in place to bring the figure even lower by reaching every individual in the indigence bracket. The Canadian Hunger Fund CHF Caribbean's promotion of regional opportunities through enterprise and linkages proper project partnered with the Ministry of Agriculture on Wednesday, June 3rd to host a taste testing exhibition for Irish potatoes. The aim of the exhibition was to demonstrate the new varieties of Irish potatoes in comparison to what is locally produced. Consumers gave feedback that will be used to better guide CHF Caribbean as it relates to preferences of nationals. Also on Wednesday, Prime Minister Skerrit called on the private sector to partner with government in its quest to improve housing in Dominica through its Housing Revolution program. The Honorable Prime Minister says this large volume of applicants indicates that even while government has done much to alleviate the nation's housing issue, there is still more to do. He says the private sector should see this as a chance to invest. These were some of the headline stories making the news this week. For details of each of these stories and others, visit our website or Facebook page. Back to you, Nisha.
Thanks, Kerdisha. And that's the English news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Creole highlights.
Cricket fans and cricket lovers, come witness the mighty Aussies take on the West Indies team in the first test match. Windsor Bank Stadium, Dominica, June 3rd to 7th. Dominica, the Caribbean and the world. Dominica welcomes you to exciting Windows versus Australia test match. June 3rd to 7th for Windsor Bank Stadium, Dominica. We just love our cricket.
Alors tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Non moins, c'est McPherson Saint-Luce. Premièrement, ça fait qu'à concerner santé environ, c'est bagaille qu'à concerner ministre santé autant. Parole ça là sorti hord secrétaire parlement en ministre environ, honorable Ivor Stevenson, qu'on Dominique a observé moi santé environ moi ça là.
Oui, ça c'est bien nous qui parler autant compte parce ça nous avec ici c'est à Ivor nous connait autant challenge et puis glo nous connait ces challenge là et puis mangouin puis différents bêtes qui a une maladie qu'on nous na plus bonne année ça nous tenions en autre équipe maladie chikungunya et puis nous on l'autre maladie qui a tué nous il faut commenter Dominique nous regarder contre Zika virus et puis ça nous avec qui différents problèmes ils vont mener autant maladie et puis nous ça nous faire en département c'est pour qui nous mettons différents programmes so nous j'ai commencé un programme là nous a passé et puis là j'ai la fait pour tuer mangouin parce que ça y a ces mangouin qui a tué qui a passé autant ces maladies comme dengue chikungunya et puis Zika virus c'est un mangouin qui a créé des Égyptiens mosquitos so nous j'ai commencé des activités déjà pour qui nous tuer ces bêtes ça là pour qui ne pas taper maladie ça là.
La nouvelle travail bien formidable pour place à ce chimé en tout cas oui. Parole ça là sorti au même parlement honorable Reginald Ostring.
Ben chemin tout cas nous peut-être en 12 mètres retaining wall pour nous faire et peut-être en 100 pieds pour nous concrète mais chemin là fini et chemin week-end qui vient c'est fait tout cas oui. Et on connaît fait tout cas c'est peut-être meilleure fête dans le pays là et me inviter tout le monde pour descendre tout cas pour fête là pour que des bons chimères parce que ça avant monter père chimère ça là tout le monde ça là sorti pour descendre tout cas monter père monde ça là mais après ça nous guandi nous lager nous manger c'est tourner là qu'on nous paie et moi regarder tout le monde après pas ni pièce raison pour père chimère ça là parce que tout cas chimère tout cas oui bon et moi regarder pour faire l'eau Dominica tout cas pour week-end vendredi samedi et dimanche qui venir.
La nouvelle Dominique est bien représentée en conférence chef pompier Kawahib qui prend place en Dominican Republic. Chef pompier Dominique Josiah Dupuy représente Dominique en conférence là.
Moi, je suis retourné à Dominican Republic. Nous tenions une conférence là, ça c'est chef à Caribbean. Nous tenions une conférence le 21 pour le 29. Et ça c'est en conférence nous avons presque toute l'année et moi ça report qui ça a marché bien nous fait affaire nous association là et aussi nous parler contre d'autres subjects qui très important pour nous en département des faits. Nous avons parlé contre Hazardous Material, nous avons parlé contre Incident Command System et aussi nous avons parlé contre Urban Search and Rescue. Et moi, c'est parole, c'est training, enfin, ça a marché très bien pour nous à Dominican Republic.
Chef du préfet parole qui meeting comme ça, qui a eu l'opportunité de discuter bagaille pour le département ailleurs.
Là, nous, comme chef, là, nous joignent et quand nous meeting nous, c'est une opportunité pour nous garder toutes ces plus meilleures pratiques affaires des filles. Et tous les années, bitin a changé. Bitin pas qu'à rester même bitin tout le temps. Comme ça, nous avons toujours dit c'est très important pour nous ça garder. C'est pour nous ça garder ça qui neuf en affaires des filles là et pour nous voir comment nous ça accepter et mettre ça à la manière nous travailler.
Et puis finalement, il y a une organisation quarantine qui travaille et puis 5 d'autres pays Caraïbes en bas un programme gourmet maladie pampest qui a aussi affecté Coco. Selon l'officier de quarantine Ryan Ansem, programme qui a actuellement commencé en Dominique.
Il fait 5 pays qui ont commencé à travailler 5 pays. Après, il y a vers 5 pays parce que nous les faisons tous ces pays. Nous les savons pas mourir ça et en région pas mourir ça est bien dangereux il ça dangereux pams ou ça nous ne botanique garden nous mon pams so ça nous a dit quand il dit nous a travaillé 5 pays Dominique c'est un seul pays qui a travaillé c'est bien content ça l'a fait.
Messieurs mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelle en créole pour à présent. Non moins c'est McPherson Luce. Ni un bon week-end. Au revoir.
Coming up next, your tip of the day. Did you know that vinegar is not only good for cleaning surfaces, but giving you prettier hair and skin? Apple cider vinegar can be used as a face toner. Mix apple cider vinegar with some water and use as a rinse for your hair. Those locks will get a lustrous shine. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website, news.gov.dm. Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/GIS News Dominica, and follow our Twitter at GIS Dominica. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. From all of us here on the GIS News production team, I'm Nisha Charles. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.